So I want to talk about being rooted in His love. I want to discuss how to apply that to our lives. So if I knew back then what I know today, when I was younger, I would have made way different decisions. I got married when I was 21. I was completely clueless. There was no manual explaining what love was supposed to look like or what marriage was supposed to look like. My family was a disaster, and that was the worst example of what a continuous marriage is supposed to look like. It was full of divorces, and anger was the biggest root of everything. So I really want to mesh those two topics together, marriage and anger. I think it would be important and maybe touch some of you who are struggling with that. Maybe you're not married yet, but you'll get married later in life and you're frustrated. So it's time to step back. I think it's very important to talk about that and hear some experiences about marriage. If you remove that expectation about marriage being perfect, that would be great because there's no such thing. It's really important to be rooted in His love because God can tear down all of the things that were thrown at us growing up. Anger is maybe the most known feeling to me. I've been oppressed by my family, my marriage, being deaf. All of that is really dangerous. It's really not biblical. And the devil can get a hold of that. If you open in a small way, he'll come in. Back then, I knew that me and my husband were still learning how to deal with our emotions. The fear, anger, misunderstanding, all of that. So my husband, he was going through some anger issues from his past, and he assumed that we had the same history. We didn't realize that. But he felt safe talking to me about all of his experiences and letting me know. Because he knew I had a bad family history. So when he was looking at me and I was shocked, it was really nice that I was able to respond because I trusted God. So also moving forward, the devil was able to get a hold of me and come into my life, and I just wish I made different decisions. But because I went through that, God was definitely just the expert and showed me there is no limit to His love. His teaching are really beyond human capability for understanding. And His love is just, there's nothing like it in humans, nothing. So it's really important to heal the different areas that you're struggling with. Because if you and your partner both have messed up areas, it could be really damaging to the relationship. So you have to go back and really look at those areas and work with Christ and be rooted in His Word and remove all of those examples. Because in your relationship, if both of you don't know God, it's really powerful how He can help you move and understand that. And you can share something to pass down. I encourage you, take your time. Do not rush. Focus on building trust and healing those areas in your life. Because I know that many abusive relationships come from not fixing what's in themselves first. You have to understand that that can be really damaging and awful. So we really got to focus on that anger because there's no manual to show you what to do. You have to notice when it's appropriate. You have to be willing to trust that you can get rid of that anger. Call on God to come in you and help you. And be humble and accept your wrongdoings. Think about how to manage and deal with the anger. And step back and look at it because that's really good. Discuss with God and with friends or a loved one, a pastor, a counselor. Get help with your anger. You have to take that responsibility. If you don't care about yourself, you'll hurt others around you, especially your partner. So again, you have to make that decision. If you're going to allow your emotions to take lead, don't rush into it because that'll be really destructive. You have to question yourself and take baby steps. Because if you go to a pre-carriage counselor, it'll be very important. And you have to tell the truth because the pastor, He'll tell you that the things you're doing aren't biblical. So the little things are very important, and that you're willing to be honest with your marriage. Or maybe you're not married yet, but your partner doesn't like that, like men who are controlling and say, I want to get married. Yeah, you want to get married, but first you need to understand that in the future, if you don't solve these issues, it's going to be destructive. It's important to take care of that and heal that first, then move forward. Question yourself. It's important not to rush. It'll be very destructive. The longer you wait, the longer it takes to heal. You may feel the hurt, but it's because you ignore yourself and you think that you're worthless. It's important that you look back at yourself and don't trust that what you know of in your past is the only thing, because it's different for you to notice that there's other better ways of going about it. If you feel taken advantage of, wrong, or scared, or powerless, maybe frustrated, or like you have everything on your shoulders, that's really important to just take a step back and let's see what the scripture says. Discuss it with your pastor, counselor, a friend, whatever you need to do. Find a couple. I always encourage you to find a couple to chat with, or another special older. I wish I had a special older couple to chat with. I tried, but many people just kept closing the doors to me. I found one couple, and they are just so wonderful. It was Pastor Jeff and his wife. Both of them, they were there from the beginning all the way to the end. They're a great example to help me look at and want to follow. I pray that many of you have someone to look at and ask questions, and who will be willing to help you with your questions and your experiences, and how to help you prevent that from becoming destructive. I'm really just in love with his word and how it helps with the meaning. Psalms 89 verse 1, Psalms 32 verse 10, Psalms 13 verses 5 and 6, and Psalms 103 verse 17. So I want you to look it up. That's going to be your homework. Type it out and think about what his word is really trying to tell you. When you first are becoming a Christian, you have to confess. You have to be willing to realize that what's inside of you is sin and you don't want it to spread, right? So you have to give it to God. And God will take care of everything that's hurting you. And from those who've wronged you, people, family, anyone around you, you name it, you have to ask God to remove that. It's important to break away from past losses and things like that. If you keep feeding into it, and if you keep approving it, it's not going to help. You have to ask God to give you a new spirit, a new way of thinking, and a new heart. It's your choice to pick from. It's great. It's beautiful what his love can do. So Colossians chapter 3 verses 12 and 13 says, God's chosen people who are very important. It's precious for the support of the community. Whatever is in you, break that down. The people who have wronged you, disconnect from them, because it's important for him to come clean. That's really important to apply that into your marriage, to your friends, to people, to family. All of that is really important to be rooted in his love. I want to emphasize that it's important for you to do that so you can heal. Now you can focus on moving forward. So when you're going through different trials in life, it might be painful, but you have to remember, back then when you were like, why is everything happening to me? I'm so fed up with all this. I've been just put in this situation. No. That will lead you down a dark path. You have to come out of that and look at it and trust that God will show you what to do. He'll help you purifying you. He'll help learn to teach you how to empty yourself of all of that negativity. And you have to practice looking more towards him and change yourself. And the change will be wonderful. So that's really important, to be rooted in his love. Moving forward, he can start purifying you. So as far as broken relationships, I encourage you to fix the trust where you can. If you realize that someone has sinned against you and you're holding that grudge, and you're still holding that, and you're sinning against them as they're sinning against you, it's important that you come clean of that and forgive them and move on and try to fix it where you can. There's some situations where you can't. Some experiences are just too bad, and I understand that, but it's important to give that away and know how to respond to it. So me and my husband, there was a time where our relationship was just terrible. We had to forgive each other in different situations. There was so much support and apologies. It was wonderful. A lot of people respond better when you humble yourself. People connect to that really well. It's really tough, but you have to take your time, and it took a long time because all of the hurt in my past, and I wanted a perfect family, all of those expectations were set up, and that just led me to failure. And now I wish I could go back and catch all of my wrongdoings. So it's important to let go of all of that hurt from the past and just plan for yourself and making good relationships. And it's difficult, but you got to be able to move forward. So now you have to connect and pray. It's hard, but you really have to learn to pray. Experience with a person who has been hurt. I learned to pray by reading the Bible, asking God to come in you and help you to surrender, to deal with everything. Ask him to change your mind and your heart and help change your attitude and come in you. God, please listen to my story and send me love. John chapter 13, 34 and 35 says, "A new example of the law is to trust you in each other. God loves us, so we must show love to each other. Because people see us and know we're his followers. We have to show his love. You have to take control, meaning you have to be ready to grow. If you just deny it, you're going to stay stuck in the same place. You're not going to experience change. You have to surrender. Surrendering him and honoring him if you want to experience his love. I don't get it. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable. You have to trust him because he's the expert. He is the master at changing things. I never thought that it would be possible, but now I'm more motivated. Really, he's a big part of how you respond. If you think about it and you're just rooted in the word and you're not rooted in God, you have to read his word and understand his teachings. Because if thoughts come up, like, for example, if you have all of these different expectations, you're like, I don't know. I wish you would just stop. I'm so mad. And all those thoughts, it's not nice. Like throwing out all these negative ideas and stuff like that. And if you support each other, bam, right there. That's how to fix it. Often we have these negative thoughts that pop up immediately. We haven't even had a conversation yet. Conversation is really big key to helping you know and meet each other. Often it can be really tough, I know, having both sides, but I'm letting you know that it's important to have both sides but come together as one under God, because he wants you to become a perfect example of what he can do in a marriage. It's really powerful. I've had thoughts of how you can remind yourself what God says. For example,